Before we get started today, I want to just address how this is being formed. This is not your typical tech is art. This is not your typical podcast from the Tailosive side. This is me wanting to talk about the things that I find interesting with friends that share those same interests. And so, whether it's my guests that I have on frequently or reoccurring or new guests, all the same, tech is art is fundamentally about like tech because I'm using the tech right now to record all this. But at the same time, this is what ever I want it to be. So with that disposition out of the way, if at any point in the conversations we tend to stray away from a more thematic subject of say tech or Apple or EV, whatever, it's fine. This is always meant to be when I have somebody on the program with me, it's meant to be conversational, rarely if hardly ever scripted, and that's the way I like it. So with that, I would like to reintroduce and bring back a friend, and some of you've known him a lot longer than others, but my buddy Mike playing with his there he is.
This is embarrassing. Hi everyone.
Welcome. So I updated our little assets here a little bit to make it look a little more in line with my coloring. So
It looks beautiful. I like what you've done with the place.
Thank you. Well, that's because I have beautiful guests to join me. So I want to talk right from the offset and why I even said all that, because the first thing I want to talk about has nothing to do with tech or art. Maybe we could try to find a way to weave it in there, but I don't really care if we do. You had just right now finished Andor, like the finale. You watched all of Andor.
Andor season 1, season 2, and actually right before we hit play on here, we just finished Rogue One as well. So I got the whole treatment.
Now you gotta watch
from beginning to end. Yeah, right. And it just goes on, and then you circle back to episodes 1, 2, and 3, and then you're stuck in a time loop.
That's the new. I think that's the new order of people should watch. They should start with Andor season 1, and at some point throw Clone Wars in there.
You put Kenobi in there?
Okay, don't start with Andor. You're right. That will throw things off. I actually do think though, because I want to get your thoughts, but I want to talk about it. I haven't really talked about Andor. Do you think I think I'm gonna go against maybe the grain or the tradition of like, oh, how should you watch Star Wars? I don't think you should start with the movies. I actually think you should start with probably Clone Wars and get an idea of what that is, and you're thrown into it, and then from Clone Wars, start. Ooh, okay. That's tricky now.
Welcome to Tailosive Movie Podcast, everyone.
No, I don't know who Tailosive is. I don't know who that guy is. Welcome to TRN Entertainment. I don't know.
So my thoughts on Andor.
Yeah, tell me your thoughts. Why I figure out
24 episodes, 12 in the first season, 12 in the second season. Started in September of 2022, ended 10 days ago, roughly, as of us recording this.
And going live, this will go posted right after we're done.
Whenever. I think it was the sleeper hit. If you remember when they showed off all the different characters or shows that they were coming out with soon, they had Andor, they had Kenobi, they had Ahsoka, I think,
They did introduce Ahsoka, I think
one other one as well. And Andor kind of felt like the sleeper one that people were just going to skip or something else. But it began to be something that was almost capturing that renaissance of how Star Wars should be told, instead of kind of like what we saw with the most recent trilogy, and then also some of the other stuff or some reviews of Kenobi have kind of been, and I agree with a lot of their points of it being a little bit lackluster in some cases, or a little bit rushed in others, or a little bit convoluted. But with Andor, I felt like it was fantastic in how they were operating under, I think, 5 years before episode 1 or episode 4, I guess. And they made that clear, is like 5 years battle. Was it before the Battle of Yavin, I think is how they
BBY.
BBY. I thought that was great because it gave them a time limit of how are they going to tell the story of Cassian Andor and all these other rebels, and how we got to pretty much Rogue One. And it seemed like season 2 of Andor really handled that well, especially with the release cadence of the episodes. It was 3 episodes, I think, a week. And
every batch was a year.
Yeah. And I thought that was just a great way to at least have the viewers get immersed in the story and how we were following a lot of these characters that either survived in one way or did not, but their memory carried on with another character until we get to pretty much almost feels like the Rogue One is how season 2 of Andor went. It's like they're really stretching it out to like the last second with this series.
Rogue One feels like it's supposed to be the next 3 episodes of season 2, or you can call it a whole new thing. Like, just even pacing, because each episode is roughly about 45 minutes to an hour, give or take. Rogue One feels like it's a complete year thing as well. Dude, I will say that I think Andor is probably some of the greatest Star Wars cinema, period. I loved everything about it. And I love how they tie, not loose ends, but they tie things back even further than we thought. Like the battle plans. Like, really, at the end of the day, it all goes, everything that happened in season 2 is the genuine first domino of leading into A New Hope.
This all happened because 2 guards roughed up some random dude on another planet.
Oh, I mean, then we're going back to season 1. It all started with that. But Luthen's arc is crazy. I loved how unimportant they ended up making Cyril and his story, where he felt so compelled, like he was fighting the good fight. And then it's like, who are you? And he realizes that like all this hate and everything he had towards him was misguided. And then he realized how unimportant he is. And right at the second right before he dies, I really like how it toys with I think if Cyril had a proper like guidance or mentoring, he would have been a good rebel. I think he would have been a good rebel, because you see that he started like questioning everything with Dedra right there at the end. And I love how Dedra's selfishness and overzealous and just stepping out of line, doing things that are anti-empire, is what led to the fall. Ultimately, what led to the fall. And then Director Krennic, like his little cameo finger on her oh man, he's great in everything. How do you feel about the fact that they didn't actually show the Emperor or Vader?
I don't think they needed to. I was expecting it at some point, but I don't think they needed it. You touched on it, is that the cast is just astounding in how they sell these characters. The writers did really well with trying to lay out, here's their arc and here's how they're feeling and here's what they need to do. And the actors took that and ran even further. Yeah. Stellan Skarsgård, like you said, did an amazing job as Luthen Rael.
Yes.
And really just sold you, pretty much like was on episode I think 10, where they're really telling his story. Yeah. And finally give you some backstory on him. It was
every episode is just getting better and better to the lead up. Like, because what happened with on Gorman, I was thinking like, how does it get better than this? And then the next batch, I was like, even with what Forrest Whitaker's character's name? Saw
Gerrera,
yeah. If only you could lead as good as you lie. Like, it's just so
all precursors to like what happens pretty much the next day or whatever, or the next weeks or whatever in that storyline. But yeah, like you touched on as well, the guy who played Cyril Karn, Kyle Soller, did a really amazing job with how him and the guy who played his mom.
Well, isn't she just lovely?
Edie Karn, I think. Yeah, that was some of that acting in season 2 is fantastic, with just like that cringy, over-imposing mother figure, and having Dedra, or she's played by Denise Gao, really just like figure out the situation and then flip it to her own control. You really see that she is a force to be reckoned with until she's really thrown under the bus by Andor and his team.
Yeah.
And I guess Clea as well.
Her fate, I really like.
Oh, that final scene with her.
How she still tries to keep her composure until the lights go off, because that's been the ongoing thing. She tells Cyril, turn off the lights. Like she doesn't like to show any emotion or genuine reaction or anything like that. So she feels more comfortable being in the dark because of more or less like her deep-rooted insecurities and things. And then you see her even in the fun, like the same spot that I feel like it was, I know it's ambiguous, so it feels like they're at the same spot where they're building the Death Star pieces, where they're just sitting there and she's just trying to hold her composure, and right when they turn the lights off, you just see her kind of like have a freak out. And I'm like, that's a fate worse than death. And I love that for her, because what a POS that she ended up being. I didn't know how her story arc was going to play out, and I'm glad it played out where she doesn't have redemption. She did, like, no, she's still just as grimy and self-serving to her own selfishness, and that was the irony, the karma of it all. It's poetic. I really like that. So, I haven't watched all of Rogue One now. I started, and I mean, I've watched it before. I've seen the whole movie, yes, but
it came out a while ago.
yeah, and I love that. That was my favorite of the Disney era. I love Rogue One. But I did get up to, so I watched the beginning, the first maybe.
It's been 9 years since it came out.
You know what's crazy on that? Diego, the actor who plays Cass,
Diego Luna.
Cassian, yeah, he was talking about how like and also Tony Gillard, the creator, the writer of the show.
Gotcha.
I lost my train of thought. Oh, they could have done 5 seasons, and each season's a year. But he was like, these actors would have been old. I was watching interviews. These actors would have been old. And I feel like we like condense this and still tell all the accurate information. And all these actors and stuff that were very like people we see reoccurring. Even
Mon Mothma.
Her too. Yeah, her too. No. But Alan, whatever, the guy who plays the droid.
Alan Tudyk, who plays K2SO.
K2SO.
Mm-hmm.
All these guys are coming back, and granted, okay, maybe Alan, he's CGI, so you never actually.
This is pretty easy.
Yeah, but everybody else, like, they're gonna age, and but even with them coming out, all these guys, like you just said, like they've been doing this for just about a decade already. Mm-hmm. They've lived with these characters for about a decade, and evidently they started talking about the show, making a show shortly after Rogue One came out, and it was so successful. They're like, oh, we should dive into these characters more, and they intentionally wanted to leave out Jen altogether, not have anything to do with her or like the architect, any of these, I'm not gonna be vague. It's been a decade. We can spoil whatever. But my point is
spoiling Andor season 2 already.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe I'll put timestamps. I'll make a note. Well, I'll wrap it up at the.
You can put it up in big text right before we start talking about it. But
everybody just I'll timestamp this. But I'm glad you liked it. How do you feel about the fact that after Ahsoka season 2, there's going to be no more series for the foreseeable future that has to do with
they're
Star
stopping
Wars.
It after season 2 of Ahsoka?
They're going to stop. They're going to go back. I think they're done licking their wounds. They want to address doing more films again, starting with Mandalorian and Grogu and all that.
Well, honestly, I think Ahsoka deserves a season 2 because they really set up everything in that for what's going to go on with Thrawn, who I believe is played by not Stellan Skarsgård's brother, but Matt. So in Rogue One, Mads Mikkelsen, who plays the father, the architect of the Death Star, I forgot his name. Janos. Ursa, whatever. Anyways, his brother plays Thrawn, Lars Mikkelsen.
Yeah,
I think that's hilarious.
Which I believe he's also the voice actor in the animated series.
Is he? I'm not.
I think he is. Take a look. And while you're looking that up, I agree. Season 2 of Ahsoka should have a season 2 with Balin and everybody. Even though Balin got recasted now, they gave it to the actor who played the Hound in Game of Thrones. But that guy's a phenomenal actor. So
you're right. He did provide his voice for Thrawn.
Yes, he did. Okay, I thought I was crazy there for a second, but he did do it. And it's cool when they do stuff like that. The guy who plays Ezra, I could have sworn, like, man, that must be the voice actor too, because he sounds just like, he looks and sounds and behaves.
I don't know if you watched Rebels. I watched it just because I wasn't a kid, of course, at the time when it came out, but I thought, you know what, whatever, I'll watch it just because I got nothing else going on. I'll have it in the background or whatever. And it's really one of those shows, at least in my opinion, that is great as a background show while you're doing something else, because you can kind of tune in, see what's going on, tune back up. Because a lot of the time they treat the Inquisitors kind of just like the bounty hunters of the episode.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, the crew, the ghost crew lands on the planet, and then the Sith people come, and then they do the thing, and then they tussle, and then they leave, and then, oh gosh darn it, we'll get them next time, and then the next episode repeat. But what was I getting at with this? Rogue One, or not Rogue One, Rebels really does set up a lot of what we see in current Star Wars right now. And
I agree.
It's definitely a title that is slept on, and I think a lot of these more current live action shows really owe it to the writings that Dave Filoni did in Rebels. I think there's a lot of great material that you can pull out of there, including the death droid that is known as Chopper.
Right. No, and I like the parallels too. Like, I will lock in on any version that they show of it. I will lock in when they show Vader, and I like what happens in Rebels when you see basically the parallels of Obi-Wan and Ahsoka kind of metaphorically and literally breaking through Vader to talk to Anakin for a second and show that internal conflict. And you see it. Just, I like the reminders that Vader is a tragic character, that Anakin is a tragic character. And I like it when they trickle that in there in places. And Anakin, or Hayden Christensen's already been confirmed to come back for season 2 as well. So I think he's going to do more training with Ahsoka. I saw this cool
more
thing.
Flashbacks.
No. Oh, I wouldn't mind, but it seems to me what they're doing is he's going to train her to basically become almost as powerful, because no one evidently can't be as powerful as Anakin, but he'll become as close to as powerful as possible. Is training her, and whether that has to do with the world between worlds element again, or other things. There's a lot, because now that they're in deep space, there's
they're in a galaxy far away from the galaxy far away,
which is on the Earth. So I feel like he's gonna help her, teach her how to do that and break through these more or less like dimensions, and maybe return back home. And maybe Thrawn is supposed to be the Emperor like ultimate antagonist for this arc of post Return of the Jedi, leading into the sequel trilogy.
He's pretty much the prodigal son, as I understand. Yeah. I didn't read the books or read the comics or anything like that, but knowing some of the tidbits that drip on social media back when I was on it, or some of the videos that I watched, or even just watching Rebels and Ahsoka, you definitely get the understanding that he is a force to be reckoned with. Mm-hmm. Other thing I wanted to add, that I wanted to kind of spotlight for you and recollect on, is when we were kids, the spacing between episode 3 and episode 4, even though it's only the time of Luke's childhood, pretty much
19 years.
Yeah, it seemed like there was so much story to be dug into at that time.
Yeah.
And here we are now in 2025, and I just, after watching Andor season 2 and Rogue One as well, right afterward, I'm just thinking, I think we've told pretty much everything. I mean, there's still probably stories to tell in between that time period between episode 3 and episode 4, but I think we've told what we've needed to tell between that time period. And the next period to really dig into is what Ahsoka's digging into, which is the time period between episode 6 and episode 7.
So soft disagree, only because I saw an interview that kind of, I think is going to eventually, we're going to see an announcement. The soft disagreement is there's a lot to explore within the first couple years after Revenge of the Sith of Vader becoming Vader, hunting down Jedi, learning how to navigate this new space, how he handles, in comics and stuff. I haven't read the comics or read anything, but he does visit Padme's tomb at one point, and there's a lot of like closure that you see. He's trying to find you see so much about what is supposed to be the downfall of the Republic after the Empire is officially like an empire. And Hayden Christensen said that like there's a lot of stories there that they can explore, and he's more or less like, I hope I can come back and tell those stories. And it sounds like he's like, oh well, then maybe
they have AI for Vader's voice at this point, so they can go as long and far as they want with the Vader voice. And then if they want to do some flashbacks with Hayden, they can do that. It's just it's getting a little bit old now.
Yeah.
Not in terms of I don't want to see it anymore, more of he's physically getting old.
Yeah, but I see you go on YouTube and you just see deep fake restorations of things of Rogue One and how much better they managed to do like CGI Tarkin or CGI Leia.
Yeah, I've seen some better ones online of Leia. I think one or two, some fan made ones that did a little bit better with it.
The de-aging of Mark Hamill, people did the restoration on him for Mandalorian and Book of Boba. I think he's in it too. And
yes.
So
the intermission of Book of Boba, that is the Mandalorian.
Yeah, there's like yeah, that was weird. So you see you see people go in after the fact and do better like de-age and stuff like that. So I mean, like,
George Lucas, on it, I would say if you're still hankering for a little bit of that, The Bad Batch is something that me and my wife watched, and that was a fun series because it takes place right after or right at Order 66.
Right. Yeah.
And takes it from there, even to where at the end there's hints of this character will continue on in some manner, and hopefully they pick that character up eventually.
I even like watching just on Disney. Man, we'll wrap it up. I'm not everything will be Star Wars related, but I just like watching the Tales series, like Tales of the Jedi, Tales of.
I haven't watched the more recent ones.
I haven't either. I only saw Tales of the Jedi, and I was like, this is awesome.
The Sith was all right one.
I don't watch Sith.
The Cad Bane and Ventress ones look interesting, just because we watched the Clone Wars, and so these are characters that came from Dave Filoni's and I guess George Lucas's as well minds.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. They were not written anywhere else.
Yeah.
And so actually, I guess that's false because, I need to dig into that deeper because Asajj Ventress was in the original Clone Wars 2 to 4-parter or whatever on Cartoon Network. If you ever watch that, that's really fun. It's not canon anymore, but I guess she's not totally original or non-original. Yeah. Anyways, deep fakes, I think, is somewhere that we could go, I guess, with a lot of these characters. I'd rather do delve more into what we did with Andor, with all these original characters. They have
I agree.
Sort of a connective tissue to Rogue One, but otherwise, Dedra, Clea, Vel, Luthen, and Kino as well.
I would have watched a show of an early Luthen and how he started to, in his mind, build this rebellion idea. And I would watch all these characters' his origin. I want to see an origin story with Balin. I know he's a Jedi. He said he was at the temple when Order 66 happened, and he saw Anakin come in and kill everybody.
Have you seen the new set photos of who's playing Balin?
Yeah. That the guy. It's the guy who played the Hound in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I think that was a great choice, especially.
He's a phenomenal actor. If you've seen him I don't remember. I can't off the top of my head tell you other things, but I've seen him in other things. I'm like, oh, this guy has range. He's not just an angry guy all the time. he has range, which is good. I think it's a great recasting. I'm glad they didn't kill off the character because there's a lot to show there. But the thing with deep fakes, and here's how we'll move away from Star Wars talk.
Thanks for grabbing it.
The thing with deep fakes what I find interesting is like we have the technology now, and there's so much more of that technology that's there, and it's all being built in around this whole AI stuff. Have you kept up with the latest news and info about stuff that's happening with all this AI things?
I've seen all the wonderful videos of VO3. I do watch a little bit of, was it Penguin Zero or Moist Critical, that guy with long hair or whatever, cover it. Yeah. And it is quite, yeah, baby.
Waiting for. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's been slightly scary. I think I've sent you and Drew a couple of clips or whatever. They're just terrifying in regards to, it's kind of hard to tell whether it's real or not. A lot of them are very much just the the social media clickbait ones where it's just a guy interviewing someone on the street or wherever, and which is kind of easy to do, but it's doing it really well to where it's kind of hard to figure out unless either it's written out or you look for those very, very subtle clues. But otherwise, I've shown it to some friends and family, and they've all been slightly terrified now of what is AI generated that we're looking at online and what isn't. What do we believe and what do we not?
We really are on the precipice of something here, because it's been 2 years, 3 years since Will Smith and the spaghetti. Mm-hmm. I think it's 2 years, and now we have this. Like, it is going to. I believe we're gonna have a whole different landscape come 2030. I keep dropping content and videos, just looking at it from the perspective of Apple, but it's so much bigger than Apple. I think we're going to see a tipping point of how technology is used by 2030, and it's going to. And when I say 2030, I mean it's going to look completely different than how it looks right here in the mid-20s. And that's a scary thought, but I mean that's how technology works. I'm more interested in seeing how we will use these tools that are looking to become more accessible and free. Do you? I don't know if I've ever asked you this question, and I don't know if you ever talked about this, so I don't even know where your thoughts are on this. But do you have or do you use the ChatGPT app or any of that?
I only used it when we did some stuff on the podcast last year, but otherwise, no. I don't really interface with AI much. Whatever we call AI these days, it's a lot of machine learning tools that assist behind the scenes for Excel spreadsheets or anything else. But otherwise, and even Excel spreadsheets probably doesn't need it. It's pretty simple. But yeah, I don't really interface with it because I don't have any need for it. The closest thing I'd have is when I edited the podcasts. And Drew always fantasized that moment of pretty much just throwing a bunch of videos at the AI and then throwing a new one and say, hey, edit this similar to what I do. And then it does it. And there we go. You don't have to edit anymore. And that'd be one application where I'd probably take advantage of it. But I don't do much editing these days. So otherwise, no. Is there at least some fear for you in regards to music making, since in the music making scene, it's been getting a lot better. And I'm sure with what we've seen with Google's flow with VO3 or whatever, music's only going to get more and more, not muddy, but maybe so, with the idea of accessing music online. And you would never know that this artist or album that you're listening to is just all AI generated music fed by Spotify or Apple Music or something else, and you're none the wiser.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Right now, I'm not worried because I'm a product of my time, but I'm very much accepting of the future. I'm a futurist in that sense, but I have doubts that AI is going to be as it will always be synthetic to an analog recording of something, and it'll do good at replicating it, but it can't mirror it completely. And I feel like somebody, it might have been, it doesn't matter. Somebody, actually, to be honest with you, I might have been Moist Critical now that I'm thinking about it. Somebody on YouTube with millions of subscribers talked about how AI. Oh, I'm about to sneeze. Sorry. No, it went right. Okay. AI is better at mimicking certain genres than others in music, but you could still tell things sound a bit off. But I mean, we're still at the early stages of it. I think eventually I would say I get worried because I feel like I would just use it as another tool to help me do something. Much like, Boy What, right? Like he uses AI in a way that's a creative tool while he's still being the original authenticator of writing the music. And so you can still hear the soul of the music in there because Boy What's writing is still in there. He just parodies, SpongeBob characters, and that's how he makes it stand out, but he makes it sound pretty badass. And so I feel something to akin to that, maybe not as much as parodying, but I feel like I would do something like that. Like, oh man, I would really like the guitar to sound like this, or I'm looking for a drum sound and I can't get my EQ and my distortion to do that. I would probably turn to AI to try to mimic the sound. And then my workflow person, I probably would just clip that sound, and then I would just like copy paste that sound every second and fourth measure in a bar, and then and so then I would find a way to still make it mine. That could not be completely replicated just through computers, but other people will probably do it because they would just want, like, look, I just want a catchy jingle from my YouTube intro, and that's it. Then
right.
Like that's fine.
Not all of us are Daft Punk, where we're able to take very old songs, sample very specific parts of it,
right,
and then distort it up or down a certain way to make it sound very catchy and great. And it's a 3 to 5 minute length song that's only composed of like
work it, push it,
well, not even that. Like One More Time, I think, is
one more
maybe.
Did you see how they structured that? That was so cool.
It's like 7 different sound clips that they pretty much distorted and EQ'd a bit, and then linked it together into a masterpiece. And so stuff like that, like, is really amazing. But of course, for creators that don't have that skill, or artists that want to express some sort of artwork, I guess. Yeah. And that's kind of the tough part, is like, are these actually artists when they're just having ChatGPT write it all for them, or VO3 or whatever, do all the heavy lifting? And which I think even in Colorado, there's a whole court case about it where this guy was doing all that. And I don't know if that went any further in regards to pretty much saying, no, your art isn't art.
Here is the philosophical question you just asked. Let's take that a step further. Is it even art if you're having ChatGPT do it all? My gut reaction may surprise you after this sponsored break. No, I'm joking. My gut reaction is it's still art because you're the person who wrote the prompt to ChatGPT that make me this thing. It still came from your brain to want to create something. Like coding. If you ask ChatGPT to, hey, can you make this code for me and make it more like this, and you're kind of tailoring it, you're still the conductor in this orchestra. You're not playing a single instrument anymore, but you are the overseer of it. You're still directing it. And I feel like that has to count for something. Man, this is the very literal tech as art part. I feel like that has to count for something. It gives me a funny feeling, but I'm also, again, I'm a product of my time. I will find a way to make it original to me. Even if I use something that's completely synthetic all the way through, I will find a way to make it mine. No different than like if I use, spoiler, when I use strings in my music, I don't actually have a violin or a string section. Sorry.
No, but I think there's a difference between you grabbing assets from Logic or whatever, throwing them in and mixing them a certain way, versus typing out a prompt and then continuing typing out prompts until it generates something that you want. The way that I look at it is like a hammer, right? And you're building a house. Yeah. Did the hammer build the house or did you build the house? Well, you're the one swinging the hammer, but you couldn't get the job done without the hammer. But you are the one actively swinging the hammer versus the hammer just doing it all on its own and you just sitting there sipping on a Corona or whatever and watching the day go by.
Mike, this is such a true it's not a paradox. This is just not even a conundrum at this point, but this is something we deal with in the military. Should the officers get the medals for the stuff that the enlisted people actually do? That general is not the one who's out there actually moving the battle forward and pulling the trigger for all of them, but he's getting the accolades, he's getting the promotions, and he's getting the awards and stuff like that. I feel like it's something like that, right? Like maybe, I think the truth is, as many things, is somewhere in the middle. And he's instructing. He's like, these are my instructions. And it's your job to obey my instructions. And so the soldiers will go do that. That is how we operate. Happy Memorial Day, by the way, for everybody, anybody listening that's there. Remember our fallen brothers and sisters. I think about you all the time. And I miss you all very dearly. But the ships, the naval ships have medals and ribbons and awards plastered on the side of their ship. That ship isn't the one that's actually doing the thing. It's the instrument that's being used for everything. It's almost like hive mind mentality where it's all one brain maybe at the end of it. But to go back to your very, very specific question about with the music, it will have to be challenged in a way that in a world where everything becomes more and more, the word I like to use is sterile, we have to find a way to humanize it again. Maybe we need to go when anybody can do whatever they want. I would like to see the human flaws and errors and mistakes, something that's not being sung pitch perfectly, something that you can hear, slight errors like it would have been done back in the 60s when the Beatles were at their prime and everything was recorded on an 8-track and they had to loop that 8-track and make it like it was a very, very, archaic technology and not primed by any measure of being like, oh, this is a well-polished album, but the soul is in there. And that's why people like listening to the Beatles or Jimi Hendrix, whoever, but back before computers were the forefront. Now today, every artist we know is using computers for getting their sounds, getting their story told. And I still like music today. It's different. And I acknowledge it's different. And I can appreciate different. I grew up listening to Sting and the Police. I like going back and listening to 80s music personally, because that's when they were very new to the computer, synthesizers and 80s.
Everything was very digital sounding.
And it was cool to see them play with it. And I feel like that's for us right now with AI and everything else in a way that maybe we can play with it. And even though we'll know it's like, oh yeah, that's synth or that's a synthetic creation, there's something in it that maybe we help humanize it. But I'm also thinking from the standpoint that whatever I make, I will take and I will warp and make it my own. The animation I have for my intros, for example, with my little motion of my logo coming up and stuff like that, I didn't make that from top, bottom, left, right. What I did is take many different assets that I was able to create or render out, and I patched it together in one single thing, and then it sounds cohesive because I unified the sound with the movements and stuff like that. So it sounds like one fluid motion when really it's at least 5 different things that are actually happening from behind the scenes, things that I could probably not have done by myself. I did take the time to make those things perform in a way that is what I wanted to see, and then I could take those things and make it my own. I feel like that's how I will handle AI at some point, even if it's to the point where it can make its own YouTube videos. The fact that you could prompt something like, make me this thing and I'm going to go upload it, and then boom, computers are going to be talking to computers. Like that's one of the scenarios, right? Like computers are going to be talking to computers.
They already are.
It's become less human. All I could do, however it plays out, is make my spot, whatever I interact with, whatever I engage with, my little blip on the internet for this small time in space time continuum here, all I can do is make that authentic as is humanly possible, make that as sincere as humanly possible with whatever tools I'm using with, and hopefully that's enough. And if it's not, okay, then we'll recalibrate and go from there. But what are your thoughts, man? If you could do all that stuff, would you create YouTube channels and stuff and put out those things that I know you're not interested always being on front of the camera? You like working more behind the scenes. It sounds like this would be a space for you that you might want to branch out and maybe experiment more with.
So you say ease of creativity, I think, is maybe a great summary of it, right? And how for your intro with something spinning in or spinning out, you're able to combine 4 or 5 different things to make that happen. And it's kind of topical because we kind of did like a pseudo movie podcast at the beginning of this with Andor, where I was making a intro animation for the movie podcast when me and Nick were running it. And then even when me and Drew and you were doing a few episodes, I was still working on the animation. I've since canned it, but it was a cool film reel with, I think, our 4 logos or 5 logos on a film reel, and it zooming in and out with all that, it pivoting around. And that was taking a very long time, but it was a lot of dedicated work on just a hobby. And it was a lot of quote unquote blood, sweat, and tears into something that never really came to be, but it was experience, right? And there's a sense of that experience that you get along the way versus hitting a button and it outputting something. Do you know if it's correct or not? Well, it looks good, so we'll use it. What did you gain from it? I think is the next question, right? And if you're not gaining much from it, then how do you carry on that experience forward? Besides, I just hit the button again and then it generates something else. There's a greater reliance that is being put onto the machine that makes the machine. The machine in this case being ChatGPT or VO3, that's then making the YouTube channel pretty much. And it turns into pretty much what Kwebbelkop tried doing, and what Drew is also posed is pretty much just having AI take over the Taylor Swift network eventually. And it's kind of scary to me because you have these creators that just don't exist anymore. And it's all not something for the fun of it. Kind of like how early YouTube was very much just, we're not getting any money from this. We're just throwing videos online and people think it's cool. It's just creativity for creativity's sake. Yeah. And now it seems like it's becoming more capitalistic, or at least money driven, where everything has to be a side hustle. This is how we're getting a whole bunch of views, right? This is how I'm getting a giant follower count so I could get into this gala, so I could talk with this person or whatever. It becomes more of it.
It's transactional.
It's transactional, and that's not something that I necessarily want to support. Or that.
Man, I miss talking to you, dude. That's refreshing to hear. I could tell you confidently that if I could have an AI right now run my channel, I wouldn't do it, because that's not why I created this channel. I want to have my thumb on the pulse, on the scale. I want to be able to do the things that I am genuinely interested in. If I'm not interested, then I'm not going to do it, right? Like, I don't care about meeting deadlines or whatever. It's nice to do it when it's relevant. You know, I like doing it, like doing stuff on the spot, but it's from a place of, like you said, passion and for just creative purposes, not because I have to meet a certain number anymore. I don't have to get monetized anymore, so whatever. But I don't like the idea of like going with the flow of things just because maybe it's expected. But the idea of like, we're gonna have to we have to learn to kind of, and we're doing it now. It's rudimentary. We have to learn to coexist with this technology. And it's going to be around, and it's going to be used in different ways, and how we use it is our human preference. But I don't know if I'm not comfortable with just letting AI like take over my creative decisions personally. That's a me thing. I won't dig on anybody who feels differently. I will use AI to help me, I can see that being a thing.
Yeah.
That's,
or just spin the creative juices pretty much around. Just mix things up a little bit like a blender, so that way it doesn't feel like you're so stagnant.
That's true, because then when it becomes repetitive and redundant for me, I get bored, and when I get bored, I'm no longer interested, and that's a very first world problem to have, but it's true. So I asked you this because my initial question, even starting the subject, is do you use Chat GPT or anything like that? To this day, I do not have Chat GPT download. Hang on, it's going to focus. Give it a second. Come on, camera. Come on, camera.
I believe you.
There we go. I don't have it downloaded. I don't have any AI things downloaded here.
How do I know you just created a new Apple account and then got a similar looking phone? And
because if I did, I couldn't text you right now saying, hey, and I just texted you right now. So that's how you know. But I don't use the AI either, but I want to, because I want to know how I can use it to strengthen my repertoire I have now. I want to use AI.
I think you're using it right now, right? With some of your shorts where you green screen yourself into a web page or something like that. That's machine learning, in which AI is pretty much a very generalistic way of talking about machine learning.
I would agree with you. We've warped the name so hard that we don't even think of little machine learning things as AI, though it is technically. I would agree with you there.
Image processing.
Yeah, I would agree with you, but that feels very not true. That just feels like, yeah, for my
calculator versus Excel spreadsheet versus, I don't know, the new
love a good
app or whatever on the iPad.
I love using a good spreadsheet though. No, but like I want to use AI. I want to use the new tools that are coming out. I want to use them responsibly. I want to be mindful. Listen, in a world that we could do whatever we want now, I am becoming more and more every day like you, in the sense that less but better. I want to be very intentional with my time and the things that I do. In this case, I'm referencing with you. You don't use these tools because you don't have a need for them. You don't go on social media. You've deleted accounts and stuff. Like you're very pragmatic about your approach to things. And I want to become more responsible in that sense with what I do, because I care about the message I'm sending out there, not just by the topic at hand, but also how the means I use to get the message out there. And so I feel like AI can help us. I feel like it can help me. I don't know how yet. In a chat prompt, like in a text prompt thing, I don't have a use for it. I don't need help with coming up with video ideas, for example. I don't need help with coming up with songs ideas. It has not done well with helping me find other like similes or even synonyms about things. Like if I'm writing a song and I'm on the lyrics part, I don't need help with the lyrics because I want the lyrics to be me. But maybe that won't always be the case. Maybe I want to write a song that has nothing to do with me directly, and I am just the instrument. Let me be the instrument, and then whatever the case is. But I wouldn't use a computer to tell me a story. That sounds so sterile. Like the computer doesn't have a story to tell. It's a tool. It's like saying, how can I write a song about a camera that just wants to take photos? That bores me. I don't want to do that. So in that sense, I'm not just going to use however, like I don't know how a text prompt will help me, but I also acknowledge I'm very ignorant to this space, and I don't know what I don't know. And every time I open up Threads, and I'm on Threads a lot, I see, hey, check out these powerful 5 prompts for Chat GPT to help you better resume building or discoverability on LinkedIn. I don't use LinkedIn, so I don't give a crap. But other things would be like, some people use Chat GPT as a therapist. It knows their inputs enough to actually know them. And that's kind of cool. Like,
is it?
The concept's cool. The concept's cool because if it has the same conclusion as a licensed therapist that's supposed to maybe do everything but like, except give you a diagnosis, but if it can say like, oh, it sounds like if it is able to identify things that we struggle, like, it sounds like you need to work on communication skills because of X, Y, and Z, and you don't have to pay $150 for that session, then okay, the concept's cool. I'm not using it, and I'll tell you right now, it's vulnerable. I'm in therapy right now, and I like doing therapy every now and then, like semi-annually or biannually, because I feel like it, like any part, like the brain needs a tune-up, like a car.
Yeah.
Like any other muscle in our body, our brain is a muscle. Like it's good I like having tune-ups. So I seek therapy every so often. And I'm the type of person, I need to be in person for therapy. I need to sit with somebody and we need to flesh this out in lifetime together. That's the best format for me. And that's how I work in school. Academically, I don't do good on online schools. I do better in person. That's just how my brain is wired. But someone like my wife loves the teleconference therapy thing. That's her favorite because it's so convenient and it works. So she likes using telephone or Zoom or whatever the case is, and make it have a degree of separation, and it doesn't bother her none. And some people like doing online schooling, like all these things. It's not a one size fit most. It's like there's so many different ways that we can utilize the tools. So if somebody's using ChatGPT for therapy and it's making them a better person for it, fine. I would never do that. I don't want a computer to know me that well personally. That's just me though. No. I know too much.
I'd rather both trust and also put my money towards a person who went to school and specialized in that. And you kind of roll the dice on whether you're getting a good therapist or not, from what I've understood. Sometimes you get a dud, other times you get one that just doesn't jive with who you are or what you are. But I would rather have a human assess me in that regard, because they are licensed and they're there for you. And they're not in it for, what am I trying to say? They are there to listen to you and give input back when necessary. But otherwise, I get that therapy is mainly for people who want to they don't necessarily have to be damaged people or go through a traumatic experience. It's typically just getting stuff off your chest. And like you said, getting a tune-up, reassessing life at the moment. And it doesn't have to go through a licensed therapist, which is why I think many people do AI or use AI as that therapist, because in some cases they just need someone to talk to, right? But in other cases, you have situations where you have Daenerys Targaryen telling you to go off yourself. You believe
I like working with somebody who has a license to lose something. I like working with somebody who has some skin in the game personally. That's me. If some people are going to take, a fictional character and be like, okay, because she told me so, that right there says that you need help. Oh God.
Exactly. Something that I think, because you're wanting to get a little bit more into AI, Google offers a $0 for the first month for the Gemini app, Flow, which is VO3, Whisk, which is their pretty much their image to video. It's VO2, but like you're able to do a lot of just like, hey, here's a picture of. I was looking at their products, and pretty much they have a picture of a grandpa. They have a picture of a cityscape or like a desolate like forest or whatever, and then like a 90s anime, and pretty much the thing is the subject is riding on an airplane or a rocket or whatever, and then it generates the image, and that's really cool. But if you want to give yourself some incentive on trying it out, they do have a $0 for the first month offer on that for at least those two things. One for making a video out of AI, and others just being image tools. And then if you really wanted to get into more of it, they have a $125 a month for 3 months for Google AI Ultra or whatever. But if you find some time, or at least have a month where like that you've got time, just like how you did with making the iPad work for a month or whatever. You could do the same.
Maybe for academic or research reasons, I will consider it. But if I'm being honest, I'm not necessarily all that eager to do it. But I mean, that's something we'll figure out. You sent me something earlier today, and I think this is what sparked me wanting to even, hey, let's record something. And because I looked into it, and we haven't really talked about it yet, but you sent me.
Yeah, I was thinking what I sent you on Instagram, which was the mashing of two different songs together, which I thought was really cool. And that's just creative juices. But what you're talking about is the EX30 not really having
Ladies and gentlemen,
future here in the US.
If you did not follow our coverage from a previous podcast, Mike and I are quite fond of the Volvo brand, and we were excited of this EV coming out. And we talked about this for at least a year, maybe two. I don't know how long it's been now.
It's about a year.
With you. Okay, so it's been a year. And the Volvo EX30 was supposed to start around 35,000. That was our like leading conversation starter right there for us to talk about. So Mike's sent me this earlier, and I looked into it because I'm like, no, because I'm basic, and what I mean by that is I like crossovers and hatchbacks, and like the Blazer effect, I guess. I don't mind.
This is a compact crossover, pretty much.
That's what made it so much cooler. Is that
it's pretty much Volvo's version of the Chevy Bolt.
Yes, and I don't even hate this this white yellow looking. Like I'm biased though. I know the range isn't the best. I know that the specs aren't the best, but I trust Volvo. My family used it growing up. So I was looking over this briefly, and this has to do with tariffs, everyone's favorite word of 2025. And in turn, my son drinks organic like milk, and our gallon used to cost $5, and now it costs 10. And I'm like, dude, this fucking sucks. And I thought I saw a price here. I'm looking to see what the new price. Okay, with the 25 blanket tariff that's going on to the EX30, I guess we could just
pretty much, if it starts at $35,000, in which you'd be lucky to find one that starts at $35,000, even if you spec'd it and they delivered it.
Right.
You add 25% to that, and you're getting into the 40 to 50 range.
And it's not a $40,000 to $50,000 car. It's just not.
Yeah, you were already angry with it before. My justification is that Volvo, always in my eyes, has been that semi-luxury.
I agree with you.
It is that Mercedes/Audi's regime, even though that many would disagree with me. But I thought it was worth it because it's not just safety focused, but also that style and what they offer in the interior and also for the exterior are things that are willing to shell out just a little bit more money to pay for versus what GM or Ford is offering.
So it can go up to potentially 50% for the EU tariffs that Trump has threatened once before. So there is a 25 blanket that was already said, but it can go up to as high as 50% on EU imports. And reading here, they don't make, that's true. They don't have 25% margins. 6% is considered to be good.
The only one would probably be Tesla that has something close to a 25% margin.
And they are not, no one's going to clear a 50% profit margin. Just
no. So it just doesn't make sense to really ship it to the United States pretty much.
And I'm sad because I wouldn't buy the first version of this vehicle, but I would like to see future iterations of this car and us getting our hands on it at some way, shape, or form.
They're around. You could find them.
No, but I'm saying I wouldn't want to buy, or I'm not interested in Gen 1. Is just like overall. But anyway, seeing that frustrated me, and I think the moral of the story here is, things to come. This is what our future looks like. with innovation. And what I mean by that is I like competition. I'm the capitalist in me that makes me American, red-blooded patriot American, is that I like the free market. And this feels like we are screwing with the free market, because now we can't even welcome innovation from outside the country properly to see what would work and what wouldn't work. And I'm not saying the EX30 would work, but it's not fair to try to force Tesla to reign supreme in the United States, because it might stifle innovation even within its own ranks. It might be like, well, ain't no one going to outprice us, you know? Rivian.
And even if you're anti-EV, this is not just something that affects EVs. In the Bay Area, where I am located, we have an oil refinery that's probably going offline. And with that oil refinery going offline due to tariffs, because a lot of the oil that they're bringing in is now being tariffed, it's forcing them to consider, or they are closing down, which means gas is going to become a lot more expensive in California, not just in LA, Bay Area, all over. And it's going to extend outward to other states as well. And so owning a gas car is going to become a lot more expensive to own.
Yeah.
Because gas is now more costlier. And then you think, okay, I'll get an EV. But no one wants to sell their EVs because we have this tariff on importing these vehicles that comply with everything. It's just they weren't built in America, so they're going to cost a lot more.
It's not just that, though. It's like we pay. Let me say it like this. We whoa, how do I there we go. I'm still figuring out how to man the controls here. This big beautiful bill plan thing, budget thing that got passed recently, at least passed the House, and now it's at the Senate or something. Anyway, I don't really know politics that specific, but what I do know is this new big beautiful bill, as Trump calls it, for this is coming after EV owners to pay higher. Like, it takes away all the incentive. Like, obviously the $7,500 tax credit gone, but now we have I think the number was like $250 add-on to our registration for the road tax that used to be taxed from gas vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this is taking away incentives, period, to even want to have EVs, because the whole point, like, I paid the premium up front when I bought a car that was electric, when majority, even today, right now, more than 50% is still gas. And we pay the premium in a different way. And at least for the state of Virginia, with my plates, I paid my road tax with my plate registration, my vehicle registration. That's how I paid my taxes. And now I'm going to have to pay on top of the road tax I already paid for. It's going to now mandate, I think the number was like I'll find that and I'll link it. I'll, at bare minimum, post show notes, I'll put it in the description, because it blew my mind. It blew my mind that, like, I felt like I was, for the first time, I felt like I was being punished. I felt like I was being punished for trying to go green. And this has taken away so much incentive to want to continue doing the EV thing. If I'm getting hit with like, it's becoming more luxury. And the whole point of me buying my car when I did was because I wanted to make it less luxury and more mainstream, more accessible. I would love to see $20,000 cars someday in my life. And I know we're not there yet. And that wasn't the point. The point was I was buying into that future, that we can see a world where anybody, if they you just, do you want gas? Do you want hybrid? Or do you want EV? I never stood behind the notion of getting rid of gas vehicles, because I feel like we still have a place for them. But I found it. I'm going to read it to you really quickly. So $7,500 tax credit gone. $250 Fed annual EV fee, $100 for hybrids. A new federal road use tax fee for EVs will replace gas taxes. $250 a year for full EVs, $100 for hybrids. You do not get. Oh yeah, the home EV charging credit. Gone is the $1,000 tax credit for installing a level 2 home charger. You don't get that anymore. This is now has to do with solar, but 30% residential solar tax credit ending. Yeah. So that kind of sucks, man, because we're still the adoption curve. We haven't gone over the hump yet. We're not mass yet. Like we're still. You could tell just from last time you and I talked. We talked about charging stations and stuff. Like that's what I look forward to. Like we haven't even solved that. There are people who still have CCS and the other things. We're not even there. So no, it kind of sucks. It sucks that cars like the EX30 are now going to be more expensive because of import tariffs, these taxes that are obviously going to be passed on to us. And even if it was all bluff, say Trump is bluffing about the tariffs and they're going to go away and it was just a way to strong arm some countries into doing some things or manipulate stock manipulation. Or
have you seen the Animaniacs meme? It's a lot of countries.
Yeah. So
Canada, Mexico, Panama.
Even if all that was bluff, what isn't a bluff is this bill that I just read off to you about what we would be punished with, or what I feel like is being punished. And people are boo-hoo, but because I was reading game flack on it. My point there is that I didn't pay for an 11th when I bought my car before that one, which was a Jetta. Out the door after taxes and register everything, it was a brand new Jetta, 2015. I bought that for $15,000, brand new. Speedometer had 3 miles on it.
Wow.
And I bought that. I was like, wow, I will never see another new vehicle like that. My brain was thinking that wasn't going to happen. And I was like, man, I'm never going to pay $15,000 again. Bro, I would break someone's left arm to get a new car for $15,000. And
double that.
Dude. So, but to my point, I've been around a long time. I've paid my fair share of taxes in many different ways. And where I thought I saw the incentives, I bought my Tesla under a Trump administration the first time around.
Mm-hmm.
He was well into the presidency and stuff like that when I bought my Model 3. So I can't even be like, oh, because I did it under Biden. I didn't buy jack shit under Biden. I did that all under Trump the first time. It just sucks. It just sucks because now I feel decentivized to continue buying the future, and I don't like that feeling. It goes against what I believe in. So
it felt like someone threw out the drogue chute while we were still accelerating for a land speed record, or not even a land speed record, just accelerating innovation. And it's frustrating when the brakes get pulled. I think the beauty is if all things go as they should, this isn't forever. This isn't for a very long time. And that's, I guess, American politics in a nutshell, is things change all the time. And so we're able to pivot somewhat quickly, even though that we're very slow in regards of legislation. But this might just be the shock effect that the government needed to focus on what is important for the country. Because no matter what decisions are made, hopefully, if we're following as we are supposed to with our government, things will bounce back in a different way.
How do you feel?
It's never constant.
Yeah, I do know this though. With Trump forcing himself to be so polarizing, like it realigned my priorities of what I'm looking for when it comes to campaign promises or legislation promises for a future candidate, and whoever's going to be more aligned with my vision of of at least with this, when it comes, I'm very futuristic thinking. Like my head's always thinking about tomorrow, and this just feels like, what lobbyists and people from legacy era just throwing money at this to make it go away and slow it down because it hurts their bottom line. I'm like, I don't give a shit about the bottom line. I like the technology that we see in EVs, and if they're not going to bring those to gas vehicles, they haven't done it yet. And I know we've already talked about that before. Like I wanted to stay in the space, but so my question to you is: are you? I know you. I know. Well, I know your immediate. Your true answer is that wait it out. Like you just said, but does this?
It is only May.
Does this?
We've only been in this for so long, so
Dude,
things could get.
I know, but does this deter you from thinking like you want to get another EV of even of a different caliber? No.
I think the beauty of it is, me and my wife are in a position right now where our cars are perfectly fine. I guess the truck needs maintenance because it's gone over, I think, 50,000 miles, so it needs its transmission looked at. But otherwise, the Y is perfectly great. It's, I think, in the middle / nearing the end of its. I think it's in the middle of its third set of tires. But otherwise, it's all been good. So we're not looking for a new vehicle at the moment, unless things went wrong with our vehicles, either something in regards to someone crashes into us or something else. But for right now, we're comfortable as is, so we can wait it out. We're making use of our current assets is pretty much what I'm saying. Looking at things like what I saw last weekend with the Tello crew. It was pretty cool seeing that, and it made me rethink, oh, this thing is actually a lot cooler than I thought. I mean, I already thought it was cool beforehand when I got to ride in the skeleton prototype of it, but actually getting to ride in something that's a little bit more closer to their vision.
Were you with Drew, or was this just a you thing?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so Drew had a very busy week, but I think he highlighted in his most recent video that he pretty much stayed overnight at the office. But he invited me over because he had some free time in the evening since nothing was really going on besides editing videos. And so he invited me over. I came over, got to check out the vehicle, got to ride in it. Same spot that I was in the first video, in the front passenger. And it was a great experience. Still, of course, I could tell that this is a prototype.
Sure.
But I see
we'll keep
what we can do. And kind of echoes what you were thinking of before, or what you were stating before, with like stagnation of ideas, stagnation of progress, and these startups kind of reinvigorating that. Heck, I'm wearing a Slate shirt right now. I'm
You're all
a
over.
supporter of these startups that kind of just throw caution to the wind and let's try something new and different. Something like the Slate or the Tello, I think is something that we really need to support and at least incentivize, because it's newer ideas that will drive companies like Ford and GM to make things that they never would have made. They would have just kept on making their trucks bigger and bigger and bigger, or add more and more outlets, and or make more and more trims that increase the price up to $130,000.
Yeah. Dude, I would love to see an EV Maverick on the road. That would be so sick. Just
Maverick Lightning, I think, is a great word for it. Because we have the F-150 Lightning. Just make the Maverick Lightning. Yes, it'll be expensive, but it'll be less expensive than their current F-150 Lightning manufacturing floor over there in Dearborn. So I think the Maverick Lightning might not be a bad idea, especially since we're incentivizing American-built vehicles.
I want to get to the point where I want to believe again, man. I do. I like what we talked about last time. I haven't changed my stance on it, but I do want to. I don't want to come off as pessimistic as maybe it sounded. I want to believe in Slate, Tello, Aptera, and whoever's even after all those. I want to get to that point. I feel like in every turn that we take, even recently, like we just get bitch slapped about something. And
it's only May.
No, you can't.
Every single week, it's something new.
Dude, something.
The hand being slapped away from the dinner plate.
And I am so over it.
I'm so hungry. Yeah. Have you actually looked into Slate ever since our last conversation?
Or even I'm going to be honest with you. I walked away and I started looking just a little bit more.
Okay.
Just a little bit more.
You don't even have to dive into anything. Just look at their website. I think their website says everything, with immediately the really kind of weird animation of the truck dropping onto the ground and then it slams or swipes over to another version of it, kind of rocking.
I want to believe, man. I do. I was so pro all things EV for so many years, and I don't like feeling like I'm waking up or I'm growing up. I don't want to feel like that. I want to believe, but it's only May, and we will see what the rest plays out to. But I
think the beauty of Slate is that they're an American company that is supported by an American billionaire.
Yeah.
So it's very unlikely that they will be snuffed out unless things get really
right. It's the parts that get imported to build the things that's going to be now an issue potentially.
But that's the beauty of Slate, if you've looked into them any more than you have, is that they don't have to rely on that many parts. I mean, yeah, they have to build the vehicle, but pretty much they're not talking about including that many accessories in the base product. And then when you want to add things to the base product, that's where they're going to upcharge you a lot more money. And that's where the tariffs, I think, would make sense, right? You want to make your truck a SUV that has a second row. That's going to cost you money, right? In which it makes sense. Honestly, this is like a really weird way to think of it and look at it, but I think tariffs are really great for Slate because it's really going to line their pockets with money, because that 6% to 25% margin, they can easily make it with third-party accessories, or I guess first-party accessories that they're forcing onto, or not forcing, they're offering to the user, and the user can pay it if they want, but they don't have to.
Yeah. Well,
I think it's a great business model that they're running. It's just actually getting the wheels spinning on it. Same with Tello. Like, great idea. Just let's get the manufacturing and the parts and the suppliers and everything in order. And God forbid with Aptera, just trying to get all that going too, being publicly invested in, and just like stagnation, because we're in this very it's a very uncertain time, right? And so with uncertainty comes a lot of that fear, but I guess for others, they take advantage of it and turn it into a money-making situation. So I don't think it's a very weird market right now, but I think for a lot of these EV vehicle startups, I think there's still silver lining / golden horizon that they're chasing. Night has not fallen yet.
Okay. I want to be that optimistic, and so we will end that there. How do you have any closing thoughts for us? Because I want to leave on a high note like that.
Closing thoughts. Some other product that I think everyone should go check out that really invigorated me, and I think I sent it to you as well, Randy, or I guess maybe you and Drew. Dyson announced a new pencil vacuum. Fluffy cones, I think is what they call it. It's a new vacuum, very skinny handle. It's got a rechargeable base and all that. It doesn't look like it's going to last that long for American houses. For more of what they're catering to, which is Japanese market, it looks perfect. The way that they presented this product was very refreshing to me when looking at what Google does, what Apple does, and all that, and unveiling products and talking about them. It becomes a big whole event with a lot of computer generated imagery and a lot of fluff and kind of padding out the timeline and the materials and all that. Where for Dyson, I forget the gentleman who presented the product, it was very simple. It was very just, hey, we're noticing that when people are using their vacuum, hair gets caught up on the spool. We made a new invention. Here it is. And they didn't dwell too much on it, but they're like, hey, here's like the spotlight item for it. And here's how we can not have hair get tied up on the spool, and yet you can still vacuum with no problem. And just the way that it was really just all the information was laid out for the viewer and also people that were watching was a little stark, And I guess I'm an engineer, so I kind of like just get down to the cold hard facts. I do appreciate some of the artsy stuff, but for something like what Dyson did with the Pencil Vac Fluffy Cones event, I definitely advise you and your audience to go check it out, because it's just a whole different experience of how do we talk about a new product and how do we still generate that excitement when we're not really like jumping up and down with our Apple Watches running around and all that. We're just, here's the product. We're not trying to revolutionize your house, but it is something exciting.
You know, and I'm not saying this to be funny or cute or whatever. If Tech is Art was a person or a product, it would be, the closest thing would probably be like a Dyson, if I'm being honest with you, because the technology is also the aesthetic of it. It's very that industrial, that you show the guts of it all, and it changed how like vacuums, for example, now perform. I have a bagless vacuum. It's Shark, so it's not Dyson. Didn't have the Dyson money, but they've changed the way how you kind of like. I have to disagree with you. I think they are revolutionizing some element of this, because they re-engineer some certain things to be more practical, and the practicality of it is also the beauty of it. And when something just works as it looks, then I think there's symmetry there. It's a very Johnny Ive thing to see, except he would be very, very minimalistic about it, where this is more like all the tools and everything is more, we're not hiding it, we're showing it, and we're making it part of the overall design. Right. And I just in general, if I had that type of money, which I don't, I would own a lot more Dyson products, just because I like that company a lot. So
yeah, and this one's not supposed to be revolutionizing all vacuums everywhere. It's
right. But
it's a nice small vacuum that you hide in the closet for when you really need to.
Maybe somebody who lives in a studio in Manhattan, or like they have a smaller space, like maybe this helps them.
Or if you have a small hard floor space, I think it's perfect for carpeting. It might be tough with how the spools or the fluffy cones are shaped, and I guess the material that they use, but otherwise.
So this would work good in my kitchen or my front door, my foyer, my landing area. Yeah.
Places where you don't want to scuff it up with the big vacuum, and you just need something small that just needs to clean up a small mess that's typically dry. I don't think you want to do wet either of this thing. So it's a little limited, but I think that's the enjoyment that I have of it, is it's not trying to solve all the problems.
I'm going to link. I'll link the Dyson video in the description. So I'm not going to link.
The gentleman did a fantastic job presenting it. And I think I even said in the group chat that we had, I was just like, this is how to present a product. No BS, to the point. Colorful animation or false advertising, just the product and its actual capabilities.
Hey man, I hear you about the colorful animation and the BS. Apple is dropping the ball on that, and I hope they do less bullshitting with us on WWDC this year, because they really fumbled everything last year with this whole AI talk, and I wasn't even excited for it like that. I didn't like the fact that I was going to be potentially software locked. That's all I didn't like. But seeing how much they fumbled it, I was so deterred by it. I haven't downloaded the Chat GPT app or Gemini or Grok or any of these other, because I don't really care. I'll maybe use it on my Mac OS. I go to the .com domain of it, whatever, fine. But I don't really overall care. But anyway, thanks, man. I appreciate you coming on to this again, and we get to talk about some Star Wars, some AI, and some EV stuff. I feel like we brushed everything pretty quickly, and have some cool stuff to talk about. So
thanks for having me. And the brush that is Tech is Art continues on this canvas that you keep on painting.
Yeah. Well, everybody, I would say you can follow him anywhere, but he doesn't do social media.
You can follow me whenever Randy wants me on here.
That works too. I appreciate everyone taking the time, as always, coming in through here. And this one, we actually kind of went like a full podcast episode, which is rare. I know my son isn't asleep right now. I need to go upstairs and go help. So I'm like, ooh, this is the perfect 90-minute cutoff mark here. But I do appreciate everybody, as always, taking their time, especially on these longer forums. A lot of people are responding well to the last one I had with you, and also with Drew. Like my analytics show that there's more engagement than my solo long form monologues that I do. So I think
the discussions are electric, man.
I like the discussions. I do, whether I say it during or it happens after the recording. I always find myself walking away. Just I like.
It's not for show. For those that are watching and listening right now, like, this isn't me and Randy just trying to put up a guys or trying to build up his number. This is just us talking, and we're having a good time talking about it. Like,
this is how we talk in person. Yeah, this is exactly how we talk in person. So I like being challenged with my thoughts and stuff. And it made me between last time we recorded and this time, I looked at Slate a little bit more. This one, maybe I'll walk away being even more open-minded, just because I feel like I'm not sure I'm gonna have another Tesla after this, just because I'm bored and I want to try new things at some point. So I want to.
The R2's coming soon, man.
Yeah, we'll see. But anyway, that is a conversation for another day, because I do plan, if we do have a part 3 of this or however this goes, I hope I have my butt in a Rivian at some point between now and then, where I can then actually talk about it, because I am going to want to talk about it.
Same with me and an EX30. I realize that there's a bunch of them in the bay sitting on lots, so I now kind of want to go check it out.
Sweet. As for everyone else, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day or whenever you're listening to this. And do remember that the reason why this show is called what it is because this is tech, because tech is art, and we are all connected by it. Literally right now is how I'm communicating with Mike, is through tech. So, let's always try to find the beauty in all this stuff, even if it's a thin pencil vacuum cleaner from Dyson. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.